cinta bagai taman tak berbunga. Hai, begitulah kata para pujangga. Hidup tanpa cinta bagai taman tak berbunga. Hai, begitulah kata para pujangga. Aduhai, begitulah kata para pujangga. Bekerja, entah apa, entah siapa. Karena cinta, jiwa gairah. Tanpa cinta, hidup pun hampa. Ternyata amat utama adanya cinta. Hai, begitulah kata para pujangga. Cinta kebutuhan manusia. Siapa saja memerlukannya. Karena cinta punya daya. Ternyata amat utama adanya cinta. Hai, begitulah kata para pujangga. Hidup tanpa cinta bagai taman tak berbunga. Hai, begitulah kata para pujangga.
Serat Centini is an old Javanese manuscript consisting of 12 volumes. Some people refer to Serat Centini as Javanese Kama Sutra, but actually, it is an encyclopedia of Javanese culture. It was first commissioned by Pakubuwono V from Surakarta Palace, written by 3 court poets, and also partially written by Pakubuwono V himself. It was first published in 1814. Giri region was attacked by Mataram Kingdom. In all the chaos, Sunan Giri, one of the Wali Songo, was captured by Sultan Agung from Mataram. On top of that, Sunan Giri's children were separated. The eldest one, Among Raga, went to one direction, while the younger brother and sister, Jayeng Sari and Raja Kapti, went to another direction. This is where the journey in Serat Centini starts. When I first wanted to buy my first copy of Serat Centini years ago, I spent quite a bit of time to find my first copy of it. Big bookstores in Indonesia do not sell it. So I went to a second-hand book market in Bandung, West Java. I got the summarized version. First publication, 1981. So happy. But then it's only one book. What I knew, Centini comes in 12 volumes. So I went hunting again. In Jakarta, I found a very famous version, rewritten by Elizabeth Inandiak, a French writer. Then in Jogja, I found the novel version. I bought the book, but I don't really like it. Then in Singapore, Kinokuniya, I found the coffee table book version. So many photographs, super duper happy. But then, I've been buying single books, not books in 12 volumes. Where is the real Centini book? So I went again to Bandung, to the second-hand book market, and I asked specifically for the real Centini book. They presented me with the real Javanese version. Then I started counting. Volume number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Volume 8 was missing. So I gave my number to the shopkeeper and asked him to SMS me if he has found the 8th volume. I waited for 1 year, no news. So I went back again to that market and I asked again for the real Centini book. They still presented me with the same set of books without volume number 8, but the price has doubled up. Never mind lah. In the end, I went to Jogja. I went to the Javanology department. I photocopied the whole 12 volumes. I felt like I was ready to conquer the world. I went back to my room, opened my laptop, opened Google, and I found this free downloadable version, 12 volumes. Actually, Mataram soldiers were scared to attack Giri because of Endrasena. Endrasena is Sunan Giri's Chinese adopted son. He came from China, of course, landed in Java Island. Sunan Giri took him in because he wanted to learn about Islam. Eventually, Endrasena and all his troops converted to Islam. They are so strong, they are so unbeatable. Anyone would think twice to attack Giri. I have a boyfriend with 4 fatal mistakes. 1, he is 13 years older than me. 2nd, he is a Bumiputra. 3rd, he has different religion than mine. 4th, he works full-time as an artist. Deadly combination for a son-in-law for my parents. As predicted, when he came to my house, it was so drama. There was so much screaming and shouting as if I got pregnant out of wedlock or as if somebody died. My mother cried. My father started telling the whole story of how he worked so hard to send me to university, how he was always looked down by his own father, how my grandmother got miscarriage before finally she had my father because she was working too hard. Then my boyfriend knocked at the gate. Ting tong! Assalamualaikum! Everyone was chill. My mother could smile. My father also smiled. My boyfriend went back with this very hopeful feeling because he felt so accepted by my father. But 2 days afterwards, my father cried again during dinner. He started telling the whole story again about his hard work, my grandmother, and so on. The moral of the story is that he cannot help losing his face in front of his family and friends. This is not a human-to-human problem for them, nor a religion problem. This is a race problem because religion can be changed, but race can't.
Lirikan matamu menarik hati, oh senyumanmu manis sekali, sehingga membuat aku tergoda. Sebenarnya aku ingin sekali mendekatimu, memadu kasih. Namun sayang malu rasanya, biar ku cari nanti caranya. Memang sekarang malam pernikahan, namun awal lahirnya percintaan. Harapanku dapatlah kau rasakan, meskipun belum aku menyatakan. Oh kira
Chebolang. Chebolang is really naughty. He ran away from home. He has caused a lot of shame to his family. Basically, Chebolang does everything that is forbidden in his religion and culture. But after he left, his father was very sad. He cried for days. But not long after that, Jayang Sari and Ajang Kapti came to Chebolang's father's area. They got adopted right away. Life became pretty easy for Jayang Sari and Ajang Kapti. They didn't need to travel further. They didn't need to sleep in the jungle anymore. Oh, my mother SMS. Dek, kamu di mana? Where are you? Actually, I've been struggling to answer this question. Many people ask me where do I live now, and I don't really know how to answer. Since 2012, I've been moving around from one city to another between Singapore and Indonesia. In papers, I live in Singapore, but I spend less than 2 months yearly in Singapore. Luckily, I still can keep my PR status, even though I have to renew it every year, not every 5 years. To make people even more confused, I tell them, oh, I moved around between Singapore, Jakarta, Jogja, Solo, Malang, Bandung. That should answer the question in a way. Then comes the next question. What do you do? This one easy. I always say, oh, I do theater. Then comes the next question. How do you survive? My answer will depend on my mood. Sometimes I answer, oh, I survive by walking, taking cabs, taking train, taking plane to go here and there, and I eat at a clean but cheap warung when I'm in Indonesia. But actually, the real challenge was to live as a normal person. When I first moved around between so many cities, I was faced with this big problem to be a guest in someone's house. I had to meet so many people. That means I have to be a guest in their houses. My own house avoids taking any guests, and I never really go to any of my friends' houses or any of my father's friends' houses. So I had to tackle this. This made me realize that I'm so abnormal in that sense. I don't even know the basic things in life like this. No wonder people keep asking me how I survive living without my parents. At this point, I figured that Serat Centini is not only an encyclopedia of Javanese culture. It is an encyclopedia of life. It can be a guide for ignorant people like me. But some other times when I'm in the mood, I will tell people that, oh, I'm having this project on Serat Centini. I research on it and I make it into performances. I get travel allowance and I take tiny short projects to buy food. But then that answer is sort of a trap because then I have to explain further. So let me explain. I started joining Malay theater when I was in junior college. My first theater trainer was quite bizarre and besar. But he managed to put the theater bug in me. What he didn't know was that he made me able to speak. When I came to Singapore in 2002, I was very quiet, I was very shy, I was too scared to speak because my English was very bad, my grammar all over the place, and my accent so Indonesian. I spent almost all my time memorizing my textbook, but the good thing, I got so many A1s. Then I go to JC, I got contaminated by theater, and I started talking, and talking, and talking. The talking don't stop until now, and sometimes I get so tired of talking that I need to talk more. After trying to be an actor for 3 years, I figured that I am not a good actor. My biggest problem is in my tongue. My tongue cannot copy other accent. If I speak English, Indonesian accent. If I speak Malay, Indonesian accent. If I speak Tamil, cannot. If I want to survive in the theater scene, I have to be something else than an actor. Why not try writing? My very good friend agreed to teach me how to write a script. We met over 5 coffee sessions and that was it. Shamelessly, I sent my script along with a proposal to a theater company. The script sucks, you know. But the theater company was kind enough to give me a mentorship program on playwriting and directing. But the challenge didn't end there. You can write script and wait for a director to pick it up and stage it. You can wait for a theater company to ask you to direct their productions. You wait long. I don't want to wait because at that time, my aim was to be able to work as a full-time theater practitioner by the time I graduated from university. So, I shamelessly produced my own show, apply grants to NAC, to arts funds, send proposals to so many foundations and theater venues. But once, I lost 8K for a production. At that time, I was only 24, with no savings, no office job. I quickly sold my camera, sold my vintage camera bag, sold everything that I could sell. But the money was still not enough. I have actors and designers to be paid. Luckily, a friend of mine asked me to help him in his festival. The pay was only 1K, but my room rent was already 550. Then I need around 150 per month for EasyLink. I only have 3.5 months to pay my actors and designer. I ended up eating instant noodle for 4 months, and I do not want to ever do that again.
Kau kira tak menyakiti aku apabila dia menelponmu. Ku takut terulang masa lalu karena dia bekas pacarmu. Kau kira hatiku tak cemburu di saat dia bersamamu. Terulang masa lalu karena dia bekas pacarmu. Jujur saja aku takut nanti kisah kasih masa lalu terulang lagi. Tak rela, sungguh ku tak rela bila nanti ku harus kehilanganmu. Masa lalu, biarlah masa lalu. Jangan kau ungkit, jangan ingatkan aku masa lalu. Biarlah masa lalu. Sungguh hatiku tetap cemburu.
Long before Giri was attacked by Mataram Kingdom, it was once attacked by Majapahit Kingdom. At the time of the attack, Sunan Giri was writing the Quran using his pen. Of course, he was angry and very surprised. So, he threw the pen, and the pen turned into a keris, which spin around, killing all the Majapahit troops. Then the keris came back to his hand in its original form, a pen, but bloody. There are so many riots in Indonesia. They keep repeating themselves. And usually, we the Chinese are always the victim. Before Indonesia's independence, during Dutch and Japanese occupancy, there were a few riots where we the Chinese become victim. Then after Indonesia's independence, again we become victim. 1965, the Indonesian Chinese were accused of being communists. Then 1970s, my mother had to stop attending school because the Chinese school that she was attending was closed forever. She still remembers it clearly till now. The teacher told the students to make a line and quietly leave the school. The teacher say, "We are having holiday for a few days, okay? Yay!" But they never reopened the school. My mother never reattended that school anymore. Then 98 riot. I was in primary school. I was playing badminton outside my house. Then suddenly, my mother rushed us to come in. We never play outside the house anymore. I saw my father digging a hole in my yard, burying a container of my mother's jewelry. I saw him collecting all important documents and put it inside his shirt. My mother asked me to wear double layers of panties and trousers. She never told me why, but I know. She was scared I could get raped anytime. We left our house. We stayed in a hotel. I don't know how I reached the hotel safely. Maybe I was raped on the way there, maybe I wasn't. That chunk of memory is no longer in my brain. But years after that, I forgot about the incident. All of us Indonesians do not want that to happen ever again. We, the Chinese and the Bumiputra, become friends. We work together, we live together. I even fall in love with one of them. I can forgive, I can forget. But my parents do not forgive and do not forget. Forgiveness is expensive. In the war between Giri and Mataram, at first Giri won. Mataram troop was badly beaten. This is where Ratu Pandanwangi, Mataram King's sister, played her card very well. She knew that if Mataram lost the war, she will be one of the war prisoners. So she met all the remaining soldiers. She knelt down in front of them and said, "Let the loss be my fault. I would offer myself to Giri as a war prisoner." Then she gave out money and cloth and so many gold to the remaining soldiers, asked them to bring them home as her personal apology. Of course, the soldiers felt very guilty and ashamed to see the king's sister kneeling down in front of them like that. So one by one, they rose up and they came back to war. The troop was then led by Ratu Pandanwangi herself. So many soldiers from Giri were killed, but Endrasena was still standing tall. He was fighting like a madman. Ratu Pandanwangi then shot his right arm. But he was still fighting madly with his left arm. So Ratu Pandanwangi shot him again in the left arm. But he was still fighting madly with the legs. So finally Ratu Pandanwangi shot the legs. Choo choo! He fell to the ground. The end of the war. My mother again. Dek, kok nggak bales SMS? Nggak ada duit. Why never reply SMS? You got no money, is it? Anyway, I have a friend. This friend once told me that she liked me romantically. I told her, "Thank you, but I don't have feelings for you." But I became curious about her. So I asked her, "Hey, your parents know you like girls?" Then she said, "No, they are in denial." Okay. "How did you tell your parents?" "Don't want to talk about it." "But how did they respond to it?" Finally, she told me the whole story, the long story. When she first told her parents about that, it was like an earthquake. Her mother started sending her for hormone treatment because the mother thought it's just hormonal imbalance. She kept being injected by hormones until she gained so much weight and become huge. But that didn't change anything. Then the mother tried another way. From praying to going to Bomo, nothing changed lah. Finally, the mother gave up. The mother told my friend, "You are sick. You have mental illness." My friend's father quietly watched the whole long process until he got stroke. Until today, my sick friend takes care of her father. He never wants to eat if it's not her who feed him spoonful after spoonful. But it was different for my other friend, who is HIV positive. I don't know how he told his parents about that, but he was straight away chased away from home by the father. I once met his mother. The mother was a total 180 degrees from the father. The mother was so supporting of her son. The mother told me, "Children nowadays cannot be treated with dictatorship like in the past. If you are hard on them, they will fly away. I'd rather try to understand my son than losing him." she quietly used up her savings to buy a small apartment for her son to live in. She went through so many fights with the husband just to be able to visit her son regularly. I remember this particular line from Serat Centini. Lebih baik jika sengsara, lebih bermanfaat dalam tirakat. The more struggle, the better. It is more useful for your prayers.
Jujur saja aku tak mengerti kisah kasih masa lalu terulang lagi. Karena sungguh ku tak rela bila nanti ku harus kehilanganmu. Masa lalu, biarlah masa lalu. Jangan kau ungkit, jangan ingatkan aku masa lalu. Biarlah masa lalu. Sungguh hatiku tetap cemburu.
After so many mischiefs, finally Cebolang stopped. In the last village he visited, he was almost killed. You see, Cebolang, to survive, Cebolang go from one village to another performing. Sometimes he will dance as a woman. Sometimes he will sing songs. Sometimes he perform magic tricks. In the last village he visited, he not only performed, he was caught red-handed committing adultery with all the governor's concubine. Of course, the governor was angry. He wanted to chase him and kill him. Luckily, he could escape, but he didn't know where else to go. He was too ashamed to come home. So his friend suggested that he go to a cave in Mount Semeru to find enlightenment for all his worries and problems. Cebolang then made a decision to be enlightened or die trying. There is an eternal question regarding the title of this book, Serat Centini. Centini is a name of a character in the book. She is a maid. So many speculations regarding the title, because how does a maid's name become the title of such magnificent book? Some people speculate that maybe it is because Centini is always behind the scene and very humble. That's how humans are supposed to live. Some people speculate maybe it is derived from Tantrayana understanding. I never give this question a thought, but one day it dawned upon me. At that time, a maid was not just a maid who mopped the floor. Her task was to make sure her master's needs were met, physically and emotionally. She was more like a company for the master since the master was born. Serat Centini was written as an accompaniment of life. It contains so many things that you need in life, physically and spiritually. I decided to come clear to my parents. But of course, I need a trigger. I keep waiting for that moment, but the moment never comes. Time was never right. The next thing I knew, my father had to be hospitalized because his heart artery got clogged. I was ready for the worst scenario, but I wasn't ready for the best scenario. My father came back with a whole diet change and many other changes. I couldn't do anything other than observing the whole thing. He stopped going to his shop. I thought I could help him to run his business while he was recuperating. So I asked my sister lightly about that. But my sister said she don't care. Then I asked my mother about the shop. My mother said, no need to think about the shop because the shop is co-owned by your father's friend. Okay, so there's nothing that I can do. because they don't care either. The waiting led to another thing. My boyfriend got into a motorbike accident after sending me to airport. I was already in Singapore when I got the news about the accident. I couldn't think for one whole day. My stomach felt punched. I kept asking him questions. Where did you fall? What happened? Did you hit another motorbike or were you hit by another motorbike? Who sent you to hospital? Did you bring clothes to hospital? You know what he replied? You police ask so many questions. As soon as I left Singapore, I told my parents that I have to come back to Jogja because he got into an accident. I was hoping that my parents would feel a bit guilty or a bit touched because he got into that accident after sending me to airport. But all I got was, why you need to go there? He asked you for money, is it? Then they gave me an ultimatum. Choose him or choose them. If I followed my anger at that time, I would straight away say, choose him. But then I tried to be nice. I tried to buy time. So I tell them, let me go there first. When I come back, we talk.
Oh dituruti, aku mati emas. Gak dituruti, aku mati bapak. Oh begitulah nasib cintaku, bagaikan buah si malakama. Begitulah nasib diriku yang kini sedang menimpa padaku. Tapi mamiku punya kemauan, harus begini, harus begitu. Ingin rasanya aku lari bersama kasihku. Tapi ku takut ini pasti takkan direstui. Aku bingung harus bagaimana. Aku bingung pilih yang mana, pilih yang mana.
Among Raga went to travel all around Java Island, and he reached a place called Wanamarta. In Wanamarta, he met a girl called Tambang RARAS. Among Raga then married Tambang RARAS. The marriage is a bit funny one. Among Raga spent the first 40 nights of the marriage preaching to the wife, and the wife listened attentively to every word he said. But after the 40 nights were done, they went through another 40 nights of unification. And soon it was time for me to go back to my parents. When I reached home, I felt more and more alienated. My father stopped talking to me. Whenever I go near him, he will walk away to another room. How to talk like that? Finally, I go to his room. I grabbed my mother and I told them, I have to not choose them. You see, if I choose them, I have to stop doing theater. I have to unfriend all my current friends because they think they are poison. How am I going to live with that? Half of my life I spend with my friends, not family. In fact, friends are the ones who kept me from committing suicide. I've been through so many periods. I cut myself in GC. In university, I had to cry for 3 hours before doing any assignment. I told all those things to my parents and they say, I told you to quit university and come back here if you cannot follow the lesson. It's not about following the lesson. My brain could take it, but my heart couldn't take it. And if I really did come back, am I going to be strong enough to hear their scoldings and mockings for every day for the rest of my life? All this while, they think I'm stupid and lazy. That's why I cannot do things other than theater. They say I'm blind because I don't see the fact that I'm Chinese and he's Bumiputra. I told them, I am completely not blind. You are! What do they teach you in church? Are you not ashamed to God?
Kali ini tiada maaf lagi. Cukup sudah cinta sampai di sini. Ku sudah kehabisan kata-kata. Tiada bahasa lagi untuk memaafkanmu. Aku capek melihat tingkahmu. Berulang kali kau bikin aku bete. Lama-lama aku mati berdiri. Tiap hari makan hati. Lo gue gak pakai lagi komen. Langsung aja bubaran putusan. Gak usah BBM ataupun telepon. Lo gue gak pakai pengumuman. Langsung aja diputus hubungan. Gak usah BBM ataupun telepon. Karena lu dan gue udah di end.
Among Raga left Tambang Rara's home. Among Raga went back to his journey to find his lost brother and sister. He only left 3 letters. One for the father-in-law, one for the brother-in-law, and one for the wife. But Among Raga was so overwhelmed with a sad feeling. He knew how his wife would respond to his missing. Tambang Raras spent months of mourning. She never changed her clothes. She could only eat a small spoon of porridge every day. I have a grand-aunt that I never met. When she was about 11 or 12, her whole family decided to move from China to Indonesia. So all of them, my great-grandparents, my grand-aunt, my grandfather, and my 2 grand-uncle, went to the harbor. In the harbor, my great-grandmother passed some money to my grand-aunt and asked her to buy some pau. My grand-aunt ran to buy pau. When she was back, no one was there. The rest of the family has boarded the ship. My great-grandmother could still see my grand-aunt from the deck. She was screaming and crying. Her only fault was that she was a girl. Before my great-grandmother passed away, my aunt tried to find my grand-aunt in China, but no one has ever seen her. No one knows where she is. Dek, kamu di mana? Kok hilang kabar? Where are you? Why no news? My grandmother, from my mother's side, since she was born, she was straight away given to the poorest family in the village. Her own family has been giving birth to so many girls. She was to be married to one of the boys in the poorest family. The poorest boy grew up. He married my grandmother. He loved her so much. He went from China to Indonesia. He brought things that he could sell. He promised to be back. He promised to be rich. Once he's rich, he will take away my grandmother from her family. He did become rich. He sold pearl skin in Indonesia. Once he gathered enough money, he bought a big house, complete with all the things inside it, from bowls, chopsticks, furniture, even the books in the house. Then he came back to China, bring my grandmother to Indonesia, where they hope to live happily ever after. My grandmother forgave her parents, but until her last moments, she kept asking to the children, why? Why did my parents hate me so much? There are lots of cases in Indonesia where the Chinese marry Bumiputra. But mostly, the groom is Chinese, the bride is Bumiputra. Somehow, males have this privilege to make their own decision and just leave home like that. I'm a female. I cannot make the same decision as males. Females are just not trusted to make their own decision for their future.
Teganya hatimu permainkan cintaku, sadisnya caramu mengkhianati aku, sakitnya hatiku, hancurnya jiwaku di depan mataku. Kau memilih dia, sakitnya tuh di sini di dalam hatiku, sakitnya tuh di sini kau menduakan aku, sakitnya tuh di sini pas kena hatiku, sakitnya tuh di sini kau menduakan aku, sakit, sakit, sakitnya tuh di sini, sakit, sakit, sakitnya tuh di sini.
Reality chased me. I have to legalize our marriage as soon as possible before my parents found out that I ran away from them. If my parents found out before we are legal, my boyfriend might be sued for kidnapping me. So we quickly go to the civil marriage office. We go to the religion department. We just ask around. We are so blind about the rules and regulations in our country. We don't know how to legalize a marriage. To make it worse, our religions are different. We cannot go to the civil marriage office. We cannot go to church either. In Islam, actually, we can get married, even though I'm Christian, because I'm still people of the book. But then my father needs to give his consent. That's a big problem. After asking around, finally our friend suggested that I convert to Islam. Because no one in my family is Muslim, so the religion department will then assign a wali nikah to me, someone who will represent my father. But changing religion is no joke. I don't want to anyhow change my religion. But on the other hand, if I were to have kids, I would want my kids to become Muslims. And they need two parents to teach them about religion, not only one. But then everything is so disheartening. In order to legalize the marriage, I have to get referral letters from the leader of my region. You see, Indonesia is divided into so many provinces. Each province is further divided into north, south, west, east, and central region. Each region is further divided into smaller region. The smallest region is called RT. An RT consists of maybe 10 to 40, 10 to 100 houses and led by a leader. This RT leader is practically your next door neighbor. An RW is a group of few RTs and led by another leader. My RT leader is my father's friend. My RW leader lives just 3 houses away from mine. I cannot possibly go back home now. We try so many ways. We even try to pay people under the table just to avoid this referral letter. But no one could help. No one wants our money. I'm so angry. There are so many cases in Indonesia where people run away and they could get married so easily. Why is it so hard for me? Then I had another idea. Why not change the address of my ID card? So I can go to the new region to get the referral letter, not my original region. But then the same thing came to me. In order to change the address in my ID card, I need to get referral letters, another referral letter from the RT and RW leaders from my original region. She's running away is a total fail. I'm confused. I try to find reasons. I compare myself with others. I go back to history. I have no answer. I have wants. I am getting closer to all the things that I want. But I have failed. I failed in understanding my family. I can't even talk to my parents, greet them like a normal person anymore. Sleeping becomes my daily activity. I don't care about anything else anymore. All of a sudden, my Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp went silent. My friends kept asking, am I okay? dream, I go to sleep with questions, and my dreams accompany my questions faithfully. That's when I start listening to my dreams. Amang Raga kept dreaming of red lotus. Red lotus on a boat, red lotus on a mountain slope, red lotus shining bright in the sky. He didn't bother to look for his lost brother and sister anymore. He don't know what's happening to him. He was plain miserable. But along the way, people start to follow him. He lets his disciple to openly use magic tricks to awe the masses. In a short while, the news about a man who used magic tricks to attract followers reached the king's ears. Amang Raga was instantly caught. He was thrown into the sea at the Red Lotus Bay. He was accused of spreading wrong teachings. Turns out, the king knew that it was only through his help Amang Raga could fulfill his spirituality. The punishment was merely a medium for Amang Raga to reach enlightenment. But the news reached Sunanggiri's ears. Sunanggiri died of sadness, knowing that it was his son who was thrown into the sea. The news reached Tambang Rara's ears as well. But Tambang Raras believed that Amang Raga is still alive. So she left her home with her maid Centini to find Amang Raga. Along the way, they reached Wanataka, where Cebolang lived with Jayang Sari and Rancakapti, Amang Raga's lost siblings. Rancakapti took the news badly. She screamed and died right away. At dawn, before Rancakapti's corpse was bathed and buried, Amang Raga came. He woke Rancakapti up as if she was only sleeping. But Amang Raga was already berbadan suksma, meaning he has achieved a complete form. Dek, kamu di mana sih? Nggak mau orang tuanya lagi? Where are you now? You don't want your parents anymore? One day I dreamt there is a mother and a daughter sitting in a room. I don't know them, but they were waiting for me. When I entered the room, the mother said, "Finally you have come. We've been waiting for so long." I kept silent. Then the mother continued, "Wah, you are, whenever you are angry, everything around you becomes angry as well. You know, a lot of beings are following you, surrounding you." I kept silent. Then the mother continued again. "You know, all your problems, they are not your problems. They are being put onto you by your surrounding. They can't finish it on their own, so they ask for your help to finish it for them. Your projects, they are not yours as well. They belong to those around you. They are not capable of doing it, so they ask for your help to finish it for them." Amang Raga and Tambang Raras spent quite a long time living in the incorporeal world. One day, they met the king of Mataram, who was disguised as a monk. They asked his help to unify them into one blood. The king agreed. He turned them into a pair of female and male larvae. The larvae were then brought to the palace, burned, and put on Wijaya Kusuma flower. The king of Mataram ate the male larvae, while The brother-in-law ate the female larvae. In the future, the king's son will then marry the brother-in-law's daughter, and they shall bear a king, who is the unification of Among Raga and Tambang Raras. At this point, I finally understand the book. I understand the burden in each character. At first, I see the characters only as people running away and chasing things. But each character carries such burden. At first, I was only interested in Chabolang's story than Among Raga's story, because Chabolang got more adventure. But now, I understand why Chabolang's story only covered few chapters of the book, while Among Raga covered almost all the books. Among Raga had the heaviest burden. He had so much responsibility. He had nothing. He lost everything. He lost his brother and sister. He left his wife. Those days were his deepest contemplation. He was desperate and plain miserable. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what's happening to him. Among Raga means he who carries his body. The name became a curse for him. Among Raga has to carry this burden all his life and even in his afterlife. Serat Centini is no longer an accompaniment of life. It is a sacrifice. And it becomes clear to me the purpose of the writing of this book. When Pakubuwono V initiated the book, he was only a crown prince. He was despised by his own father. The father said he has very low understanding of spirituality because of the earthly life he was leading. This book is his fight against his father and the world who knows nothing about him, but accuse him of the things that he is not. Serat Centini is the greatest literature and the greatest irony. Suluk Tambang Raras is the real name of this book. Suluk means path, Tambang means boat, and Raras means soul. My boat of soul has to continue its journey, forming my own Suluk Tambang Raras.
Lantai putih, rambut pipih, ngantek ibu pipih, tresno manggone ngati, nganu sing iso kandhani, mung sliramu, pepujanku.